The college baseball experience on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 100 times your entry on the Underdog Fantasy app or website with their pick'em. Sign up today with promo code TCE SGPN to claim your special pick plus first-time deposit. Offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCE SGPN. We're also brought to you by the Mega Memorial Merch Sale. 15% off everything in the SGPN merch store with promo code SGPN May. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode of the College Baseball Experience. I'm your host, Noah Bieniek, aka 77. And Thursday was a fire day. Personally, for the locks, we just went 2-1. Again, we didn't have a ton of pitchers readily available for us to really kind of go crazy locking games up. But 2-1, I'll take that every day of the week with half the slate all listed as TBA. However, on the website, picking every game, and on this podcast, picking every game, 21-9. The comments went off on the last video. I appreciate everybody that commented, and even the guy with Ferris Bueller as his avatar tipped $2. I appreciate it, dude. I received all your messages. You don't have to tip me. I appreciate your generosity, though. That if you are willing or wanting to throw a kickback back to me or the show, the only way that I'm going to accept your money, which please don't send it to me. I'm doing this for free. I get paid to do these shows. You can tip us through the show on YouTube with the super chat or something like that, I think it's called. And it basically is just going to go to us making trips throughout the year whenever we go cover games and stuff. So, but yeah, I appreciate it. I saw your Discord message. I saw you on Twitter. I was purposely trying not to respond to you because it's very kind, but I don't need your money, but I appreciate it. Helms 22 says Bieniek has been charged with murdering the books. Russell Ambrose says who's going to wreck the parlay today? I don't know. It's been Stanford the 2 days this week. Yesterday I forgot to do a parlay during the show. It would have been North Carolina and somebody because the ACC system and betting trend in the ACC tournament finishes 3-0 this season. So shout out to that. Sunday Puncher 2009 says Noah has graduated the Wu-Tang level. Diehard fans demand more. Triumph, baby. Benedict Dantold says poor Noah feeling awkward about the tips. It kind of always has been. Like we're very grateful for it, and we found a really good use for it last year. Like we basically used it to completely fund our trip to Vegas during March Madness. It's probably where it's going to go again. So yeah, I mean, I appreciate it a lot. Chaz Wallace says, appreciate the knowledge, Noah. WU is for the kids. I mean, this chat's already popping. It's 6:51 a.m. Took me a little bit longer to go through all the games today. I feel like the slate was a little bit longer. The DraftKings, when they opened the lines, they wanted to throw a couple other mid-major games at me so I could handicap. It just meant more TBA pitchers, but at least we've got more offerings as we get closer and closer to the NCAA tournament. I can broaden my horizon a little bit, paying attention to all these games. Chat is moving. Sam Gambo says Noah's the man. Those lines didn't come out forever. Yeah, they're out at like 2:45 in the morning today. So it took me about 3.5 hours to go through most of the games, get some pictures. Hunter Chitwood says, hopefully you rested up and aren't going on zero sleep. Let's have another day. Yeah, I rested. I run on crazy ass hours to begin with. I woke up at like 3 p.m. technically Thursday. It is now 6:52 a.m. when I'm recording this. For those that are downloading this on the podcast platform, or you're coming to it late on YouTube, I'm BSing here early. Then I'm going to recap. This is typically how we always do our shows. However, if you're looking for picks instantly, you want like the 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock picks, go to the website, the SGPN picks page. Just look up college baseball picks on Google. It's one of the first links that pop up. Or you can go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/college baseball picks, or just go to the homepage of sportsgamblingpodcast.com, scroll over to the baseball tab, scroll down to, or on the drop down, college baseball picks page is right there. Mailman Mike 3 said, Noah, that LSU versus Gamecocks game is the reason why I love college sports. That game was drunk, very, very fun to watch. And Cole Messina is absolutely raking right now, seeing beach balls, murdering balls. He makes contact, and it's an automatic 350-foot fly. You just don't know whether it's going over the fence or not. The first bettable game of the day was a doozy. I wake up to all this shit flying around on my Twitter timeline from Austin P and Stetson, as head coach Roland Fanning did not like what has transpired over the last week, season with Stetson. But the Hatters do win on their home field against the Govs. They end up ending the dream season for the nation's number one offense. Austin P goes 2-barbecue in the ASUN tournament. So Stetson wins 5-3 there. Coastal Carolina's regular season and Sun Belt tournament appearance comes to a close as App State wins 6-3. That was one of our locks yesterday, plus 180. That comes through. That was on FanDuel when we put that on the picks page. I got that at plus 175 from the opening lines that we were talking about on the show from last night. TCU wins 9-4 over Kansas State. Ben Abelt, first career start in that game, by the way. Something to note. He's a nasty lefty, weird ass arm angle, crossfire, very tough, but good to see that TCU has maybe another arm that can start games that they can rely on. I was expecting Cole Klecker to go in that one, but they get the win there, and that's what we picked on the show. Hagen Smith and Arkansas end up losing the game. Hagen only goes about 2 innings, 40-ish pitches. Kentucky wins 9-6. Overall, I'm not too worried about Arkansas. And I mean, Kentucky has impressed me, and I'm falling in love with just Coach Mangione's style more and more by the day. Like that guy I would love to play for. Honestly, like 1-2 right now in my SEC, I would like to play for this coach rankings. 1, Tony Vitello. 2, Nick Mingione right now, honestly. Chat's moving along. Sunday Puncher 2009 says Stetson is a solid team and would be a tough out in the field of 64. He also said, seems like the other day, the early morning totals were lean over today. Tannic Caesar was wondering if you passed out. Glad to be here. Yeah, it just took me a little bit longer today. I got more distracted. Plus, I always have something on in the background. Like when I'm handicapping these games, I put something on. I had all the press conferences going in the background, but also Friday night or Thursday night, midnight, a bunch of new music comes out. So I was also jamming a little bit more than normal. Helms 22 says App State and Miami moneyline really got my day started. Southern Miss comeback was awesome. JC Pierre Jr. says, bro, you made me cash yesterday, but a 10K payout was crapped on by Oregon. LOL. Tony Feud says, how about them Knights? Were you up till the end of that game? That was like 1:40 a.m. my time at least. That was a great win by UCF over Oklahoma State in the after hours for sure in the Big 12 tournament there. NJIT beats Binghamton 5-2. That was available on our picks page, but I don't think I ended up talking about that on the show last night. Miami takes down Clemson. We picked the Hurricanes here. It wasn't even because Gage Zeal really kind of dealt. It was more of a grinded out start, and Clemson was up to their old tricks again. They fall down early, attempt to come back late, and they just ran out of time. Man, if that happens to the Tigers in the postseason, I'm going to be so pissed because they do have a habit of trailing early, and it's been double digit games, honestly, where they fall down early and they try to claw back late, and just doing that's going to give me a heart attack throughout the NCAA tournament. So Miami's going to move on. They're in the ACC tournament semifinals. This was a team that I kind of wanted to be higher on during the regular season. I really kind of like their rotation. I think it's underrated. Personally, I love Rafe Schlesinger, the left-hand funky guy. And I think Herrick Hernandez is one of the best game 3 starters in the ACC. His line doesn't really look like it, but I think there's some talent there as well. Miami is sneaky. I don't know if they're going to end up coming out of the entire ACC tournament. Last year, they lost in the ACC tournament championship to Clemson. This year, they very well could get back there. It all depends on their draw. Big 2 games here, depending on who Miami plays. Those games are being played Friday. Illinois State wins against Belmont 6-4. We were on the Redbirds there. Illinois wins against Iowa 4-2. They dodge a really good start from Cade Obermueller, and Iowa goes 2-barbecue in the Big Ten tournament. That just sums up that season perfectly. Liberty wins 9-3 to spoil one of our locks, the most expensive ante that we had for the day. Sam Houston was -160. That one kind of hurt. We went 2-1. That was the one loss, and because it was a 1.6 U play to win 1 unit, like we only made 0.4 on the day. So not amazing, but still came out plus. Liberty, they've been a little bit of a hard team to get a read on, but I felt pretty good with Atkinson going on the mound. And he started and he pitched really well. Liberty just jumped on that Sam Houston bullpen. UConn goes 2-barbecue in the Big East tournament as Xavier wins 3-2. That game was a little bit of a holdover from Wednesday, finished up Thursday morning. The Muskies move on. UConn loses this game, and then they lost the second game during the day that never had betting odds available. Oregon State wins 3-2 against Arizona State. That one was a cheek clincher for sure. Oregon State thought they were keeping alive their tournament hopes, but I called it. Arizona went down later on in the day. Cal, they get out of that pool. I thought Cal would be a really, really slick sleeper, and turns out they are now in the Pac-12 tournament semifinals. Wichita State wins 14-4 over East Carolina. We had the Shockers, baby. That one, the handicap there was because Trey Savage usually would pitch on that day, and we all know that he had the partially collapsed lung. So just on the value wise, it was Shockers all day long. I really didn't even look at the box score, didn't even do anything. I just knew, hey, they ended up winning that game. We had the right handicap, moved on. Tennessee wins 7-4 over Texas A&M. This was an interesting one as Ryan Prager didn't really go too long in it either. Causey was nasty as always for Tennessee, and that offense flexed its muscles today too. So over the Aggies. Again, not really worried about Texas A&M. Most of these teams that get bounced early in Hoover fare pretty well in the NCAA tournament. So no panic button on any of the teams really that got bounced out. I think they're all going to be just fine when they get out of SEC play. Oklahoma wins against Kansas 7-5. We were on the slate dog there with the Jayhawks at +130. Unfortunately, doesn't get over the line. UIC murdered Murray State 12-2. We did take the Flames there at plus money. That one seems pretty easy when you look at the box score there. James Madison edges out Louisiana 10-9. Louisiana goes 2-barbecue in the Sun Belt tournament. Another one that I didn't really kind of see coming there, but I'm happy for JMU. That's a team that I want to be on the right side of the NCAA tournament bubble for sure. North Carolina murdered Pitt 12-2. that locks up the ACC betting trend in the tournament that I've already talked about a couple times here. All 3 games this season were decided by 10 or more runs. They were not even close. Yes, North Carolina was minus 270, and I wasn't too confident in the pick for this game or day, but still, you could have made a little bit of money on it betting it straight or thrown it into a parlay. Um, the trend is always going to be teams that are higher seeded most of the time. So most of the time you're going to be getting some favorites. And I don't have the pleasure of going back and checking betting odds all the way back to like 2017. We really couldn't start betting on college baseball until 2021. So and even still, I don't really even know how to pull up past betting odds for college baseball. So I don't know how many true units you gain from this betting trend, but I do know it is 19-4 now. So you make plenty of money tailing it for sure. Western Kentucky wins against New Mexico State 8-2. We were on the Hilltoppers there. My favorite lock of the day was Indiana minus 145 against Ohio State. They win 14-7. That one was close for a little bit, and then they pulled away in the 8th inning. They batted around. T-Mac saying the Michigan killed his parlay there. Michigan, they were in that game for what it's worth, and they even teased me a little bit. They gave up the lead late in the 9th inning. Probably teased you too, I'm sure. But that's it. I mean, I wasn't really confident in Michigan's tournament chances entering. I was kind of surprised that they beat Iowa, to be honest. But yeah, we'll talk about them in a little bit. I just think they're going to run out of pitching this week. Tarleton State knocks out Grand Canyon in the WAC conference tournament. The Texans win that game 4-2 over the Lopes. San Jose State wins 8-5 over New Mexico. We got both of the Grand Canyon and New Mexico games wrong there. We had USC over Oregon, though. The Trojans win 4-2 over the Ducks. LSU, we talked about it a little bit. They win that blitzkrieg 11-10 over South Carolina. I was on the Gamecocks with the plus money. I really didn't know who was going to pitch for either team, so I took the plus money there because I figured both offenses would be able to slug it out. And honestly, it was kind of like a more coin flippy game than others today. So if I had the chance to go back and do it over again, I still would have picked South Carolina for sure. But LSU really looks impressive right now because that was a game where really they didn't have a tremendous day on the mound, but that offense grinded it out with a double-digit run total, and they win the game 11-10. They were trailing that game for like 6 innings. Pretty impressive outing there by the Tigers for sure. They caught my attention. I do think they're an Omaha contender now. If they do the exact same thing that they did last year, if you just don't fall into the losers bracket, you have Gage Jump and Luke Holman going game 1, game 2. That's a really hard duo to beat. And if this offense is playing consistently, they've got a shot to make a little bit of a run here. And they're hot right now. Like they are, you can't deny it. They are rolling pretty well. I think they're like 18-5 in the last 23 games. Tulane beats Charlotte 7-5. We were on the green wave there. They were the slight dog in that game, actually. Kind of crazy. Southern Miss wins 6-5 over Troy. That was a tight one. That was fun. Southern Miss comes back late in that one. I think they scored 1 in the 9th to take the lead and win. But I think they scored 3 late to end up taking the lead. NC State stomped Duke stomped NC State 8-1. We were on Duke there. I was close to ending up betting on that, but didn't really get around to it. Just couldn't convince myself really on the staff of Duke really shutting down NC State like they did. Pretty impressive there by them. Penn State, over Michigan 9-5. We talked about it a little bit. Mitch Voigt hit a 3-run bomb to give Michigan the lead late, and then Penn State hit a grand slam in like the 8th inning and didn't really look back. So 9-5 victory there for the Nittany Lions. Air Force wins a low-scoring game over Fresno State 3-2. We had Penn State, we had Air Force. Then I mistakenly took Mississippi State over Vanderbilt, thinking that Dakota Jordan and Hunter Hines would have a bounce back game or just have finally a good game, but both of them really kind of no-showed again. It is kind of impressive that Mississippi State is competing in these games without their two-star players doing anything. Connor Hyzak is the star right now of this team. And I do like what Mershon's doing. He's kind of setting the table well for that lineup that really can't really do anything against starting pitching. But once they get into that bullpen, they are kind of live. And then the last game of the day that we had betting odds on, Cal gets the victory 7-5 over Arizona. And it makes me look great because that was my dark horse in this Pac-12 tournament. All right. It's the biggest week in racing. The Indy 500, Monaco Grand Prix, and the Coke 600. Rod and Cody from the NASCAR Gambling Podcast and F1 Gambling Podcast have you covered. Make sure to join their Kyle Larson diecast car giveaway that's free to enter. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/race to register and make sure to subscribe to the NASCAR Gambling Podcast and F1 Gambling Podcast. Plus, we're running a mega Memorial Day merch sale, 15% off everything in the merch store with the promo code SGPN The NBA playoffs are here, and our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, wants to make it a lot more interesting for you guys. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Playing their pick'em game is as simple as selecting higher or lower on player stats like points, rebounds, assists, and so much more. Make entries of all basketball or mix and match across your favorite sports. You can win up to 100 times your money, and it's a ton of fun. Underdog is available in 30-plus states, including California, Texas, and even Canada. Underdog, they just launched their Champions, which is their player versus player format in Florida, and also they're legal for drafting in Michigan. Sign up today with the promo code TCE SGPN to claim your special pick plus first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCE SGPN. Just jumping in today's games, Avery Qualls. We just went over kind of all the action from yesterday, how we did 21-9 day, picking every game, 2-1 on the locks yesterday. Now let's jump into today's games. I'll pull up the updated odds as we speak, and we'll start diving in. Game 1, and we even have totals now. Awesome. All right, Game 1, Wofford, UNC Greensboro. To be announced pitchers for both sides in this one. Wofford, really offensive, electric team. UNC Greensboro, kind of more well-balanced team, one of the better balanced teams in the SoCon. This is a team that I think if UNCG gets out of it, they've got a chance to steal one in a regional. Wofford, on the other hand, I don't know if they have the pitching to do that. I would kind of lean towards an under here. I think UNC Greensboro is going to be able to stifle them a little bit. Under 13.5. Sparty wins this one. And for what it's worth, the spread's kind of flipped on this as well. So you can actually get UNCG plus 1.5 and minus 160. That's kind of interesting. The next game on the slate is Incarnate Word against Lamar. This is another one that I didn't find any pitchers for. Right now, I mean, Incarnate Word won this first game against Lamar in the Southland tournament, turns around, loses their next game. They're now in the losers bracket. Lamar wins their next game, and all of a sudden we have another rematch of these two teams. Lamar's the better team. Incarnate Word just had a really nice day against them the first time. I think one of their better pitchers was able to shut down the Big Red, I think, is Lamar. They're both the Cardinals, but I think Lamar kind of goes by Big Red too. But I think Lamar gets them this time around, and the minus 195 price is more reasonable than what you saw earlier on Lamar against Incarnate Word. So I'll go with Lamar in this game. The next game is Middle Tennessee and Sam Houston. I had to be announced pitchers for both of these teams as well, unfortunately. And Sam Houston, the minus 270 price is really, really high. personally, I'm going to jump on the Blue Raiders here plus 200. And I don't know too much, like, again, without pitchers for this game, don't want to really give out a total or any pick on the run line in this one. 10 a.m. Eastern, TCU, Kansas. This one, I so I feel all right projecting these two. I didn't find anything on this matchup in particular. My guy Grissom from the College Baseball Insiders hit me up with this. He said Cole Klecker going for TCU and Dominic Vogelli going for Kansas. I mean, it makes sense. Both these guys have started games recently for both teams. Vogelli would be on full rest here. Klecker has kind of been all over the place. Klecker, the sophomore right-hander, is 1-3 with a 5.55 ERA, 52 strikeouts, 14 walks, and 47 innings with a 3.16 SIERA. He has 5.1, or his outing against Kansas this season, 5.1 innings, 8 hits, 5 runs. He only had 3 strikeouts. So not amazing there from Klecker against Kansas his last time out. But Dominic Vogelli, on the other hand, he's been pretty solid this year. He won Freshman of the Year in the Big 12. He's a right-handed pitcher. He's 7-2 on the year, 3.32 ERA, 74 strikeouts, 29 walks in 76 innings with a 3.85 SIERA, 4.84 ERA in his last 5 games. He pitched 5 innings, gave up only 3 hits with 2 earned runs against TCU earlier this season. And Kansas has the better offense this year, too. 892 team OPS, 113 WRC plus, compared to TCU's 776 and 91 WRC plus. I'm going to take the plus money with the Jayhawks here. I just think they got the better pitcher, better offense. So yeah, plus 145 on the price. I think that's pretty solid offering, to be honest. If I don't have enough plays, that might be a play for me at the end of the show here. 11 a.m. in the ACC tournament, Florida State and Virginia. This is an over play for sure, I think. Jamie Arnold hasn't been in the greatest shape lately, and Virginia TBA in this one, and the over is only set at 12. I really kind of like that total there. Like I said, Virginia TBA, Florida State, they're going to go with Jamie Arnold, their ace. He's a sophomore lefty, 9-3 on the year, 2.40 ERA, 125 strikeouts, 19 walks, and 82.1 innings with a 1.69 SIERA. However, over the last month, his ERA is a 4.56. And Virginia's got one of the best offenses in the league. They've hit the most home runs in the ACC, and their home ballpark is a favorable park to pitchers. So I think Virginia is going to have their way a little bit here. I think they touch up Arnold. They get into that FSU pen that really didn't look good against Georgia Tech earlier this week for the Noles there. So I think Virginia wins this game. I think this game goes over. And I think the Cavs cover that run line, -1.5, just to walk through all 3 things that you can place in this game. My chair, what the hell? I dropped like 2 feet at my desk. Another 11 a.m. game start. William Mary and Hofstra. This is a TBA versus TBA. I didn't find anything on pitching here. The Tribe -175, the Pride +135. I'm going to be on William and Mary here. They've kind of been an interesting team the entire year, not really playing up to what kind of preseason expectations they had, but I do kind of like this squad as a little bit of a sleeper in the CAA tournament here. Plus Hofstra is coming off that Northeastern win. This could be a little bit of a letdown spot. Another 11 a.m. game, Eastern time, USC Upstate against Presbyterian. I think they're the Spartans. USC Upstate -166 against the Blue Hose, +130. We do have pitchers for this one. Upstate's going with Henry Proger, senior left-hander. He's 6-4 on the year, 4.15 ERA, 57 strikeouts, 26 walks in 73.2 innings with a 4.38 SIERA, 3.08 ERA in his last 5 starts. And Proger, when he pitched against Presbyterian earlier this year, He went 4.1. He gave up 7 hits, but he limited the damage, only allowing 1 run. He had 4 strikeouts in those 4.1 innings. Presbyterian has an official TBA, I would say here. However, I predict that Charlie McDaniel is going to get the ball. He's a senior lefty, 7-1 on the year, 3.44 ERA, 83 strikeouts, 19 walks in 86.1 innings with a 3.20 Sierra. If he does get the ball, I think he gives them a little bit of an advantage on the mound for sure. And at plus 130, I really like that price. We're getting the 1 seed at a solid dog price on the market here against USC Upstate minus 166. I'm going to take the Blue Hose. Also, another game with TBA versus TBA. Northern Kentucky against Wright State in the Horizon League. This one is basically the semifinal. The winner of this game goes to the championship. The loser would have to fight their way through the losers bracket to get into the championship game in the Horizon League. So this one's kind of fun, kind of in my backyard. TBA versus TBA, like I said, but Wright State at minus 160 is interesting. The total set at 16.5, so that's telling you that they're expecting quite a few runs in this game, for sure. So I'm going to go with the Raiders in this one. Before we move on to the rest of the games in this show, if you're betting on NBA player props, then you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm gives you a menu of the best player props for every single NBA playoff game, making it easy to go through and find the best props to put your money on in seconds. Rhythm's predictions are backed by over 3 years of data and a team of data scientists and quants that focus on fine-tuning their algorithm to give you the best shot at winning. Rhythm pairs its predictions with player prop graphs to help feel even more confident in their picks, which you can make whenever or wherever you normally place your bets or DFS picks. From superstars to bench players, Rhythm finds the best player prop lines. They're all backed by AI data without you needing to endlessly scroll a sports book. Rhythm also allows you to create your own NBA models so you can get AI-backed money line, spread, and total picks for every playoff game. Start a free 7-day trial and start winning your NBA player props with Rhythm, available wherever you get your apps. Kyle Pepper in the YouTube chat says you have me up 6 units on your analysis. Awesome, dude. Hey, you're placing the picks. I'm just out here trying to help you save time in your own handicapping. And but I mean, shout out to you. You're the one that's actually betting it with your money. Taylor Miller says, let's get it. We are doing very well on the viewer side of things here. We've got 30 people tuned in at 7:20 a.m. With over 100 cumulative on Twitter right now. Good stuff. I appreciate everybody tuning in this morning. College baseball growing. It's amazing to see for sure. 12:30 p.m. Eastern start here. Mercer and Samford. I have a bet in this game. I'm going to bet the Bulldogs here against the Mercer Bears. Minus 145 Samford is against Mercer plus 114. Mercer has a TBA pitcher for this. However, Samford. So Mercer's in their 3rd game now of the SoCon tournament. Samford, this is going to be their 1st game of the tournament. So Samford's throwing their ace. Mercer with a TBA, this is a no-brainer. Michael Ross, the senior right-hander, is going for the Bulldogs. He's 12-0 on the year, 2.82 ERA, 83 strikeouts, 18 walks, and 89.1 innings with a 3.34 Sierra. That's a bet. Go ahead, take that right now. Minus 145 on Samford. That should be closing around minus 200 for sure. You're getting 55 cents of value easy on this game. 1:00 p.m. start. East Carolina against Rice. Disrespectful price here. Again, with the amount of pitching injuries that the Pirates have right now, the books still haven't really kind of realized it. They were down 4-0 early, like throughout the entire game until the 8th inning against Rice. And Rice just kind of shit all over themselves with 2 errors, a dropped fly ball in the outfield in the 8th inning. They allowed 12 runs in the 8th inning there. Otherwise, they would have had East Carolina beat the first time. So plus 250 on the Rice Owls there is going to be the move against East Carolina. Both teams with to-be-announced pitchers there. Next game on the slate is at 1 p.m. Eastern, Southeastern Louisiana against New Orleans. This is a fun little regional game in the Southland tournament. I mean, they're all kind of regional in the Southland, but the Lions are minus 105. The Privateers minus 125. To be announced pitchers for both sides here. I'm going to go with Sela. I think they've been the better team throughout the year. Speaking of East Carolina, they knocked off the Pirates earlier on in the non-conference play. So I'll take Sela here in this game. Sorry for sniffing into the microphone. At 1:30 p.m. Eastern, Liberty and Louisiana Tech. No pitchers for this matchup either, unfortunately. I'm going to take Louisiana Tech, though. Again, Liberty's been a tough team for me to figure out. And against Sam Houston, they really kind of started slow, but they pounced on the pen. I don't think you're going to have that luxury against Louisiana Tech. They're actually a pretty good team in the Conference USA compared to Sam Houston. So I'll take the Bulldogs here in this game. 3:00 p.m. Eastern, 0-1 team versus 0-1 team in the ACC tournament. Some would say that this game really doesn't have any kind of meaning to it. It's Louisville and Clemson. However, I mean, if you're really kind of ACC diehard or ACC slappy, you could say Louisville's on the NCAA tournament bubble. You also, I think this is more of a solid case to try to explain why this is a solid game here. Clemson's going to try not to fall out of the top 8 hosting picture here as a national seed. The Tigers minus 180 in this game. The Cards plus 140. No confirmed pitchers for this game. However, both starting pitchers should be on full rest here. Sebastian Gongora for Louisville is the one that I'm going to predict. And Tristan Smith for Clemson, I'm going to predict here. Again, TBA officially, but I think Gongora goes for Louisville. Senior left-hander. He's 5-4 with a 6.25 ERA, 83 strikeouts, 28 walks in 72 innings with a 3.31 SIERA. In his last 6 starts, it hasn't been great at all. It's an 8.81 ERA. And against Clemson earlier this season, 4 innings pitched, 7 hits, 5 earned runs, 7 strikeouts. For Clemson, Tristan Smith is a guy that they really kind of need to get in a groove here. He's one of their better pitchers when it comes to stuff-wise, but recently, since his injury, he just hasn't looked the same. On the year, the sophomore lefty has a 2-0 record, 4.17 ERA, 53 strikeouts, 29 walks in 41 innings with a 3.76 SIERA. However, since his return from his injury, it's a 6.63 ERA in about 6 appearances. So it's not great, and the sample size is growing, and it still hasn't gotten any better. So minus 180, I don't really have any interest in actually playing Clemson, but I do think that they're just in a better situation overall than Louisville is motivation-wise. So we're going to take Clemson in that one. 3 p.m. Eastern start. This one I didn't do any handicapping for because VCU's minus 238 against Richmond, who's plus 180 in this matchup. I'm going to take the Rams. However, shout out to the Spiders. One of my roommates actually from my college days is a assistant coach for Richmond now. So shout out to them and the Spiders. 3 p.m. Eastern, Charleston Southern plus 120, High Point minus 150. I had no starting pitchers for this game. I'm going to go with, High Point. They are the 2 seed in this tournament. Charleston Southern 4 seed. They knocked off Presbyterian in game 1. I do think that High Point is going to be able to take care of the Bucks here in this game. High Point's got a really good, not really good, but they've got a solid rotation here, and I think they'll have the fortitude to get through this game and knock off the Bucks. 3 p.m. Eastern, Ohio State, Nebraska. I didn't find any pitchers for this game either. Nebraska is in a really solid spot with the pitching staff. It's super deep. I'm impressed by what the Cornhuskers are able to do on the mound. I think it's going to be Mason McConaughey who goes for the Cornhuskers. For Ohio State, I have less of a more confident guess at who starts here. So yeah, I think Nebraska at minus 166 to play there for sure. Again, they have the home crowd, they've got the better pitching staff, and the offense looked to have woken up a little bit there against Purdue yesterday. So Ohio State does look to have a little bit of momentum offensively, so that scares me a little bit to where I don't really want to play Nebraska, but they do have the pitching edge for sure here. Dr. Octagon says, let's go, Noah. Finally caught one of these live. Ideally, I would be doing these like 4 hours, 5 hours earlier, but it's just when the lines come out and how long it takes me to handicap some of these matchups. And Ebola, I think that's Ebola virus goes blue hose, huh? Are we talking Smurfs or baseball? And then Dr. Octagon goes, McConaughey for NU was confirmed by local media yesterday. So shout out to Octagon there in the local area of Lincoln, Nebraska, getting us that confirmed picture of McConaughey. So yeah, I mean, it just backs me up a little bit more. Like, honestly, I knew Nebraska would have the pitching edge here for sure. But Ohio State's offense does look pretty good. They in their first matchup against who did they knock off? It was actually, I think Ohio State already beat Nebraska in game one. So they put up a bunch of runs on Nebraska game one, and then they put up 7 on Indiana in game two. But the pitching staff couldn't hold Indiana back. Indiana scored 14. So this is going to be a more neutral scoring game. It's going to be like 6 or 7 runs apiece, and hopefully Nebraska comes out on top. Sorry. 3 p.m. Eastern, St. Mary's and Gonzaga. There's no pitchers that I was able to find in this game. I'm going to take the Gales here at minus 130 against the Zags. This just hasn't been the Bulldogs' year. Every good program is allowed to have a down year once in a while, and this is Gonzaga's down year for sure. So we're going to go with the Gales here to bounce out Gonzaga in the WCC tournament. Another game with no pitchers that I was able to find. Abilene Christian and Tarleton State. Abilene Christian minus 145. The Texans, Tarleton State plus 114. I'm going to go with Tarleton. They've actually been rolling. I think they've won 3 games in a row to start off this WAC tournament. So I like the momentum that the Texans have here. And I'm going to take Tarleton as a slight dog in this matchup. 4 p.m. Eastern start. 2 really good offenses going against each other. One really kind of inappropriate price. Troy minus 200 against App State plus 154. Honestly, Troy and App State both have TBAs. I think Troy is going to go with Grayson Stewart. He's just full rest, should be slated to go here for the Trojans. He was the 2023 Sun Belt Pitcher of the Year, has not had a good year this season, an ERA above 6. App State, I really have no idea who they could slate to throw, but I do think this is going to be a higher scoring game. App State's going to be live in this one. Again, kind of like yesterday against Coastal Carolina, the plus 154 price is just a little bit disrespectful. I'm going to be on the Mountaineers here in this game for the picks page. 4 p.m. Eastern start here. South Carolina, Kentucky in game 1 in the SEC tournament today. No idea who either team's pitching, honestly. South Carolina has played. This is going to be their 4th game in 4 days. Kentucky, they kind of threw the kitchen sink against Arkansas there. So, and then Don Nyman came out of relief in the first game of the week. So I don't know who Kentucky would throw. It could be Mason Moore for the Wildcats, but that would be 1 day short of rest. So yeah, I don't really know who the Cats could throw. In South Carolina, they would probably go with I don't know. I don't know who South Carolina could end up tossing out there. Kimball? I don't think Kimball's thrown this week. So, but yeah, I think Kentucky, for what it's worth, is going to be able to sustain the lack of pitching more than South Carolina will. So I'll take the Cats there. Minus 160. Next one's 4:30 p.m. start time, Charlotte and Florida Atlantic. We do have pitchers for this matchup. The 49ers are -120. The Owls are -110. Charlotte's going to toss Chase Carson, the junior lefty, who's 2-1 on the year with a 7.27 ERA, 47 strikeouts, 29 walks, and 43.1 innings with a 4.33 ERA, or 4.33 Sierra, sorry. And then Florida Atlantic is going to go with Brandon Smith, senior right-hander, 2-4 with a 7.05 ERA, 25 strikeouts, 13 walks, 37 innings on the season with a 4.65 ERA. Sierra. Both of these pitchers haven't pitched well at all this year, and have plenty of innings under their belts as well. If both offenses weren't way below average compared to the national offense, I would feel comfortable with an over here. It just depends on kind of where that line drops. They could paste a Friday night line on that total and get it at 10.5, take that over. I would feel pretty comfortable in that. I'm losing my voice a little bit here. 4:30 p.m. start time in the Mountain West. This is a loser bracket game. Whoever loses goes home. The Lobos of New Mexico and Fresno State Bulldogs. Fresno State -140, New Mexico +110. We do have pitchers for this one. Wow, voice is trying to escape me. Brett Russell is confirmed to go for New Mexico. Senior right-hander on the year. He's 4-3 with a 5.80 ERA, 40 strikeouts, 15 walks, and 54.1 innings. 4.17 Sierra, 3.07 ERA in his last 5 starts. However, against Fresno State, it was not good. 5 innings, 10 hits, 6 earned runs against the Bulldogs earlier this season. And then Fresno State has a TBA. I just really couldn't find anything on their team website for what it's worth. But their game 2 starter for most of the season has been Noah Beal. I don't see why they would switch that up here in a must-win game. So Noah Beal is a senior right-hander, 3-4 on the year, 5.37 ERA, 75 strikeouts, 21 walks, and 68.2 innings, 3.28 Sierra. Against New Mexico earlier this season, not good either. 2 innings, 11 hits, 9 earned runs. So this is another kind of over with 2 average offenses. Again, if we get like that Friday night line on the total where it's a little bit under where I would expect it to be with these 2 pitchers going, I would look at the over for sure. A couple more games here on the slate to go. 5 p.m. Eastern, FIU against Western Kentucky. No pitchers for this game. TBA versus TBA. Western Kentucky going for revenge here as FIU put them in the losers bracket, and the Hilltoppers were on top of the conference the entire season long. They have had the more sustained, successful season than the Panthers this year. So I'm going to end up going with the Hilltoppers here. I think they've got the better just campaign going right now. Looking at the 2 teams, just flat resume wise, or not really resume wise, but Western Kentucky 4.76 weekend team ERA, 7.94 team OPS, 96 WRC plus. FIU just a little bit behind in those categories. I'll go with the Hilltoppers here at -145. 5 p.m. Eastern, this is going to be another bet of mine. Oklahoma State didn't start Sam Garcia yesterday against UCF. They paid the price for it. They ended up losing in that game. I forget who they even started, but they went with Benj to begin the weekend. I thought they were going to follow up with Sam Garcia yesterday. They didn't. Now they get a dream matchup here. The Cowboys are only -150. This is going to be a bet for me here. Because Sam Garcia he's on full rest, actually a day extra than what he pitched at last week, I think. No, actually, Carson Benj went on. No, Sam Garcia went Friday. So it was, So he's on full rest now. So no extra day because they got rained out Thursday last week. So it was a doubleheader Friday. And even so, Benj was slated to go for that Thursday game when it got rained out. So Garcia full rest today. He's a senior left-hander, 6-3 on the year, 3.61 ERA, 102 strikeouts, 18 walks, and 77.1 innings with a 2.27 Sierra. Texas Tech, kudos to them for getting to this position. They've won 2 games. They've played 3 total to start this week, but they are completely out of pitching. I have no idea what they're going to do. They're going to have to mix and match for a lot of this game and try to get through 9 innings and outslug the Cowboys. With Sam Garcia on the mound, I just don't see them being able to do that. So at minus 150, I'll take OSU here in this game. Writing down that one, and I forgot to do Samford earlier in the show. So Samford minus 145, and then Oklahoma State. Again, I'm handicapping these games as I'm talking through them on the show because I want to get the podcast out as soon as possible. All I do is write down my notes. I press record, and then you guys are hearing me kind of walk through these games one more time, finalizing my opinions on this stuff. 5:30 p.m., my dark horse in the Pac-12 tournament, Cal against USC. This is a really interesting one as we do have a pitching matchup for this. Cal is minus 120. The Trojans are minus 110. The Golden Bears have won 6 straight. They've won 10 of their last 11, and they've won 20 of their last 24 games. USC's stringing together some momentum here too. USC is going to start Tyler Stromsburg, senior right-hander. He's 4-9 on the year, 5.46 ERA, 50 strikeouts, 15 walks, and 62.2 innings with a 3.86 Sierra. And against Cal on May 3rd, he threw 7 innings, 3 hits, 0 runs. It was a very impressive performance for a guy who hasn't had a great year. And then Cal's going to counter with Ian May, a low slot lefty. He's a junior. They really kind of wanted him to kind of be their ace in the beginning of the season. He began the year on the shelf with an injury. Since he's come back, he's looked a little shaky recently. It started off really kind of promising, but recently it hasn't been amazing. He has a 9.27 ERA in his last 4 starts. None of them he finished the 4th inning in. On the year now, it's 0-1 with a 5.96 ERA, 14 strikeouts, 9 walks, and 22.2 innings. And he did pitch against USC on May 4th. He threw 3 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs against him there. So, I think if USC's offense wasn't so anemic, because there's a big, gigantic difference here between the offenses. We're talking about Cal with... finding it on my page. Cal with an 860 team OPS, 106 WRC plus. USC with a 758 team OPS and an 87 WRC plus. Both bad pitchers to begin this game. I do think it's going to come down to the offense this year. And if that's the handicap, I think Cal wins this game. And I do think that the Arizona-Cal championship game is definitely possible, as they could rematch from their earlier game they played against in pool play. So that would be fun. Next game is 7 p.m. Eastern start, Portland and San Diego. The Toreros are minus 166. The Pilots are plus 130 here. Sorry. TBA pitchers for both. I'm going to go with the Toreros in that one at minus 166. It's not a bad price. Just give me the starting pitcher, and I'll look at it a little bit further. But as of right now, not going to jump on either side. Next one, I'm going to bet it's Wake Forest minus 160 against North Carolina plus 124. This one has to be a bet. I mean, you can still get down on this one as a single. The Demon Deacons with Chase Burns on the mound. It's kind of like the worst kept secret right now. Tom Walter was interviewed earlier on in the week on ACC Network saying that Chase Burns was like amped up, ready for his revenge opportunity against North Carolina, as the Tar Heels were really kind of the only team that got to Burns this season. He's 10-1. That was the one loss. And he went 6.1 innings. He gave up 9 hits, 6 earned runs. 4 of those runs were off of home runs. There was 4 home runs hit against him, but he did have 14 strikeouts against this Tar Heels lineup. On the year, like I said, 10-1, 263 ERA, 169 strikeouts, which leads the nation. 24 walks and 89 innings with a 0.31 SIERA. It's borderline dominant. And then you look at it, so like, sure, North Carolina's offense saw some success against Burns, and the balls are flying out of this Charlotte Truist Park here. However, UNC would either counter with Shea Sprague or Sprague, however you pronounce his last name, or somebody worse than him. He's been kind of the day 2 starter now, as they lost Boaz. They didn't even have Jake Knapp to begin the year. This guy was supposed to be a reliever in the beginning of the season. Then he turned into the game 3 starter. Now he's the game 2 starter. If you don't go with Sprague, you're going with somebody who's less experienced as a starting pitcher, or just a little bit worse than Sprague, in my opinion. And I don't think Sprague is going to be able to compete with Burns against this Wake Forest lineup. You look at Sprague's last outing against Wake Forest, he threw 5 innings, he allowed 6 hits, 5 earned runs, and he only had 1 strikeout. So even when their batters were not pummeling the ball against him, he was not missing any bats. He was not fooling this Demon Deacons lineup with only 1 strikeout in 5 innings. On the year, he's 3-1 with a 4.03 ERA, 51 strikeouts, 12 walks, and 60.1 innings with a 3.57 SIERA. But like I said, at minus 160 still right now, Wake Forest is a bet for sure. So yeah, I mean, I would bet that now before the pitchers get announced and confirmed to public, because once the public sees that Burns is going to be on the mound, because right now it's still officially a TBA, but once he gets announced, this price is going to rise. 7 p.m. Eastern start. This game is also a TBA versus TBA. Jacksonville, Central Arkansas in the A-Sun tournament. Central Arkansas just won this game yesterday, and now they're plus money. Don't ask me why. I'm going to go with Central Arkansas there. Dude, I was just talking about you earlier on in the show. I appreciate this, but you don't have to tip or give. I appreciate it a lot, but I don't know if you saw the beginning of the show, but I was purposely kind of, I appreciate it. Because I saw the tweets, I saw the DM on Discord, but I appreciate it. It doesn't go to me directly. I'm not going to accept the tips directly. What we do with the tips that we get from this show, the college basketball show, the college football show, we use it for the trips that we go on. So like March Madness, we used it when we went out to Vegas. So we do really appreciate it. That it will get put to good use. I appreciate it a lot. 2 more games on the slate. We went with Central Arkansas in the last game. 7 p.m. Eastern start. Charleston minus 105 against UNCW minus 125. Officially to be announced here in this matchup. Jake Brink, the sophomore right-handed pitcher for Charleston. I'm going to project the go. He's been their game 2 starter for most of the season. He's a sophomore righty. 8-2 on the year, 3.29 ERA, 59 strikeouts, 36 walks, and 87.2 innings with a 4.27 SIERA. Against UNCW earlier this year, it was not an amazing start. It was all right. It was 6.1 innings, 7 hits, 4 earned runs. The Seahawks of UNC Wilmington also a TBA for this game. I'm going to predict that RJ Sales goes. Again, not a really hard prediction. He's been their game 2 starter for much of the season. He's a junior right-hander, and he himself has been great this year too. 9-3, 348 ERA, 81 strikeouts, 41 walks, and 82.2 innings with a 398 SIERA. And against College of Charleston, again, it was not a great start. 5 innings, 5 hits, 4 earned runs. He allowed 6 walks in that game. So I think both starters have been great this year, but both offenses got to them when they faced these teams earlier on. If this total opens low, this is probably an over as well. But for this game, give me the Seahawks of UNCW to win. Last game of the slate here, 7:30 p.m. East. Mississippi State plus 190 against Tennessee minus 250. And I think the books actually have this one close to being correct. I have no idea who Mississippi State's going to pitch. And also, when your superstars, Dakota Jordan and Hunter Hines, aren't hitting, and you're relying on everybody else in the offense to provide the damage, that's just not going to play against the Tennessee team that is willing to run it up on you. I think Tennessee wins this game pretty comfortably. When the run line comes out, minus 1.5, minus 2.5, I would be looking to play that. I think they win this game by 3+. Drew Beam's going to be on the mound for Tennessee. Tony Vitello did confirm that in the press conference. He said that Beam wouldn't go full length, full distance today. He would be on a little bit of a pitch limit. However, on the year, he's 8-2, 359 ERA, 71 strikeouts, 19 walks, and 80.1 innings with a 356 SIERA. And he also said that Aaron Combs would come in after him. So this is a Tennessee all day for me in this game. So that's actually a nice parlay piece before I forget. So that was the last game of the slate that we're talking about. So let's create that podcast parlay now. Tennessee minus 250, leg 1 that I like. And then let's do, who else? Who else do we throw in to this guy? So none of the other big juicy favorites I love. So I'm going to end up throwing one of my bets in here that I like a lot. I would throw in I have 3 really solid bets today. I think they would all kind of be my lock or pick of the day in each of the prior shows. I think there's really good edges on Samford, Oklahoma State, Wake Forest. Those are the 3 singles that I'm really confident in betting here for today's action. The fringe bet that I don't think I'm going to end up putting anything on, but I was close to giving out was it was up early in the show. I think it was you. It was. Who was it? It was Kansas. I think it was Kansas. Kansas at plus money was the one that I was like, you know what? If I don't have enough plays, I'll mix that one in. But at plus 144 or 145, that one's not going to be a parlay leg of mine. I think you got one really solid parlay leg in Tennessee. The other is kind of stretching it out a little bit. So you know what? Let's go with the Chase Burns parlay today. Tennessee, Wake Forest as the 2 legs. That one's going to be a really chalky parlay, honestly. You look at it in about 2 hours from now, this will not be the same price, but we're going to go with Tennessee, Wake Forest. That's the 2 legs here. Plus 127 that comes out to. So Tennessee, Wake Forest, plus 127 as the podcast parlay. And again, the other 3 bets that I really love today. Samford minus 145 against Mercer. Again, Mercer's 3rd game of the week in the SoCon tournament. Samford's 1st game here, and they're using their ace. Mercer has a TBA. So yeah, Michael Ross of Samford on the year. He's 12-0, 282 ERA. Say less. That one's going to close around 200, minus 200 for sure. Wake Forest, minus 160 price. Chase Burns against Sprague. Burns reportedly is very, very amped up to go out and dominate against UNC, as they were the only team to beat him this season. And Sprague, who I predict who's going to start for the Tar Heels in his game against Wake Forest. He did not pitch tremendous. 5 innings, 6 hits, 5 earned runs, only 1 strikeout. So he was not fooling any of the Demon Deeks there. They were squaring him up when they did make contact. Then the third bet of the day, the last bet. Probably if I was to order them, it would be my least favorite, but I still really like it. It's Oklahoma State. I predict they're going to use Sam Garcia on the bump today. And it's kind of the same thing with Mercer. As Texas Tech has a TBA, you're going up against Oklahoma State's ace. This one's going to close higher for sure once this is made public that Garcia is starting. Garcia on the season, 6-3, 361 ERA, 102 strikeouts. I think Texas Tech's offense is going to, put up some runs, 3-4 in this game, but I think Oklahoma State's going to be able to hold them off early because of Garcia on the mound, and they'll win this one throughout. They'll win probably 8-3 in my assumption here. Shout out to everybody that have tuned in. Over 300 on Twitter that have tuned in throughout the show. Currently on YouTube, over 35 people at 7:53 a.m. Shout out to all you guys. I really appreciate it. That's going to do it for today's show. I plan on being here around the same time tomorrow, hopefully a little bit earlier, but you never know. But I really appreciate the turnout that this show had. You've been listening to the College Baseball Experience in the better side of college baseball. You better start thinking about yours. Adios, amigos.